Hello, hello. Welcome to Basement Builders. Our first guest today is Aleksandra, or more popularly, lately known as Kugusha.eth on Farcaster.
And very excited to have Kugusha here with us today. How are you, Kugusha?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That's so exciting. And I mean, we just met with you in real life. 2 days later, we are recording the podcast. We've met on chain, made it IRL, now back on chain.
Yeah, that's a, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but that's right. We met on chain on Farcaster, right? You have been doing an amazing job on the art channel. Um, can you tell us a bit, Kugusha, what is that for those that aren't familiar with Farcaster and building communities? What have you been doing there, and why do you enjoy it so much?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for the credits. I guess Farcaster is a new, not very new, but still fairly new social media platform, which is kind of lays in between of Twitter, Reddit, but also has this like big decentralized part. And I'm sure you will have the links down below. I don't need to play Dan, who's the CEO of Farcaster, to explain. And maybe let's go deeper into art. Um, Maybe a bit of context about me. My background is in computer science. I've been working in Web3 for almost I think it's around 7 years now, which is quite a lifetime. I've been doing marketing, product, but in a very tech like specific companies. And art has always been my passion. I love like traditional art, and I started diving deep into like digital art before NFTs, and then it was an NFT boom, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Now like creators have these amazing possibilities, and ever since it's been like growing on me. And when I joined Farcast, I was trying to find, in a way, I was trying to find my tribe. I was like, oh, who are the people that we will have the amazing conversation with? Maybe we will, I don't know, grow new friendships. And I guess I started posting about art a little bit. And it was even before the channels were introduced. But then there was this bet about doing channels, which is pretty much a like specific place united by one topic on that platform where everyone can share everything. And I've been really active there, made amazing connections, met artists, explored art. And then the art channel was one of the first channels. So before there were no hosts, I volunteered to be the host. And now it's, I believe, 12th the most active channel. So I started joking that that's my mission, to bring more art on Farcaster.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, I joined later than you both. I joined probably like early January, and at first it was like discords. There's so many things going on. I thought my head is gonna blow up. And I saw arts and I'm like, okay, this is my safe place. And what's amazing about the platform on Farcaster, which people use as Warpcast, is when you make a post, you can select which channel to make the post to. So if you're posting about food, there's an option to select food. If you're posting about art, there's an option to select art. And I'm like, oh, so now I can also like add it and follow the channel. So on my home feed, I see what others are posting. And so that's how I discovered you. And it's incredible that now it's like the 12th most popular platform that there is.
Yeah, maybe one important thing to mention, that there is like art channel, but then there is like gen art, AI art, plotter. People can create like really niche and specific channels and really share this like targeted information. So art is a like safe space, welcoming for every artist, art lover, but then you can really go deep into like very specific things.
What do you think? I don't know if this has been brainstormed, but if there was a way to sort of like have groups, like on Wikipedia, you have art and then you have subcategories, and that like if you qualify certain channels, the posts from those channels, like from Gen Arts, would also appear under art. Have you ever thought about like these possible integrations?
Look, I think there were a few discussions about like, oh, can we make a sub channel under channel? I guess it's more of a like UX problem. How do you make it quite intuitive? Because frankly speaking, for the non-very tech, like chronically on-chain online person, it's still a bit of a friction when you like enter, you're like, oh, okay, I need to connect my wallet. Then this like channels thing. Then there are also like personal channels, which is the whole other topic. But then you can mint NFTs with warps, and you're like, wow, what is this? So I guess it can be a really good idea, but again, maybe we're a bit early for that. However, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could be a little bit spammy. You already can recast to other channels, so you can recast, add a comment, or just recast to another channel, which is an interesting idea. But yeah, for me, it's um, that's right, Kugusha, you
Yes,
can
no, I
recast.
actually wanted to ask you because I see a lot that you share your content in your personal channel and then sometimes you like recast it in art
Yeah,
or you recast it in like gen art.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think it makes sense to have a channel if you're any kind of creator or a brand or a company. So in my case, I started it because sometimes I was casting things that were related to my newsletter or podcast, but maybe not necessarily fit into other channels. Um, and eventually, I saw that it was growing, and it was kind of a good place to grow my specific audience. So I still post to other channels, and I think mixing it up is great. But if you are a company, if you are a brand, even this show will probably create a channel because it's the best way, right, to grow the audience and share direct, information with them. Um, and it's a little bit better than just your account. So that's how I did it, and I think many artists and creators are considering it. I don't think it's mandatory, to be honest, because you also want it to be active, right? As you are doing an amazing job there, Kugusha, but you put a lot of effort, right? A lot of time, and you think through, right, how to make it active and how to incentivize people to engage, but as well as moderating it, right? Removing spam and this sort of content that doesn't really fit. So I mean, it's a thing. I think it's a strong added value. It's not for everybody, but definitely it's great compared to other platforms because it's very hard to if on Twitter, for example, on X, you can tweet, but only your followers will see it. But in channels, you can actually cast to something like food or whatever, and people interested in those topics will see it. So it's very nice for distribution and discoverability. It's fantastic. Yeah, and Kugusha, what are the plans for art? What are your plans there? How do you plan to use it? Where do you see these communities going? In the future, and other creators or other channels. How do you see it evolving?
I think in a way we're in the unique position where we are literally building the new art community because on Twitter there is a very like certain audience with certain rules and now we're in a way building from scratch. So there are a lot of new ways, and especially because of like tech integrations and tech innovation, we can try a lot of things like mint with warps and what you probably saw on Farcaster, that there was this like weekly mint with warps featuring one artist, and then pretty much the whole audience can mint it within the interface without like living into other platforms. I would really want to focus in the nearest future to give some more space for like artists because I personally discovered so many talented people who just like posted in art, and because I'm so online and I obviously go through majority of posts, I discovered so many amazing people, and I think there are a lot of stories to be told. So I think in the nearest future, you can expect some sort of features, shout outs to artists who are active on the platform. In saying this, Farcaster audience is very, very thoughtful,
Mm.
and dialogues and conversations are doing really well. I personally had amazing chats like in direct casts and even in public with people. So one of the things I would want to promote in the future is more like discussions And I just like 2 days ago, I created another channel which is called Collector Walls, inspired purely by Bright Moments, the recent experience in Paris. I spoke with so many people and I thought that like, oh, it would be amazing to have these people in this like smaller space, but have more conversations about collecting there and share our collections. So maybe this is another direction where the art channel can go, like highlight more niche topics and just make it easy for people to navigate. We don't have to hold everything in one channel, but I would like it to help with the discovery for smaller channels as well.
So you mentioned Paris, which
Let's go.
just happened, and that's where we were lucky to meet, thanks to the Bright Moments activations. How was your experience? Like, what do you think, what was some of the more like highlights and maybe some learnings based on the conversations? I know you mentioned the collector walls, that's one inspiration. And then more broadly, like what's happening? How is the atmosphere in this space?
Oh wow. I feel like it was probably one of the most exciting weeks in my like Web3 life, because that was a truly celebration of art. Like, thank you so much to Bright Moments team who made this happen. This was a true holiday. Lots of art, lots of conversations, lots of new experiences, amazing parties, as we all know. And also, I've hosted a Farcaster meetup, community meetup, which 100 people end up coming.
100 people.
Yeah, this is insane. Like, wow.
How much in advance did you announce that? And were they all from Paris? I guess they were coming to the event, right? The ones that show up to the.
So yes, a bit of context. I'm based in Paris, and we have a little community of people who are active on Farcaster. We know each other. It's like around 20 people, and then obviously when Bright Moments announced their date for Paris, people start reaching out and be like, "Oh, who's in the town? What are we gonna do?" So at first it was kind of like very casual meetup, and we were like, "Oh, well, I don't know, have dinner or something." But then there were more and more people reaching out, and I guess I just took the initiative to put it all together. But in reality, it's like totally a collective effort of people who are based in Paris, and also thanks to Bright Moments, thanks to Base, thank you to Super Chief Gallery who helped make it happen, and also to Purple DAO. It was a bit in the retro, but thanks to them as well. So yeah, it was the day before the Bright Moments event. Pretty much local community of art, like lovers, artists, collectors, devs who are building frames, building their like clients on top of Farcaster, and also just people who I believe just heard about Farcaster because it recently blew up and they were traveling for NFT Paris and for Bright Moments, but were already in town and just decided to show up.
Incredible. We also saw Jacopo, who was doing the Base Cafe at Bright Moments.
Yes. Look, probably the biggest takeaway for me, not even takeaway, not even learning, but the most memorable experience is people. Like, in the end of the day, the result matters, but what you experience in the process is the memories that you will have forever. And I met so many incredible people through Farcaster. I met so many incredible people in the last week. And it's really, really nice because a lot of people travel to Paris. Normally we travel somewhere from Paris, but here a lot of people were in town, and that was like amazing energy, new connections. A lot of people reached out to me and they were like, "Oh, can you please share the contact of this person? Do you know how I reach out to that person?" And to me, this is how I measure if the event was good. Because in the end of the day, it was for us just to go from URL to IRL. And it means that maybe that's the beginning of something new to other people.
Yeah, I think what made it special, like the whole days of Paris, is as you said, the people. So I was very impressed how many people actually travel, right? And I saw many people coming from America, which is it's not easy, right? To take a flight across to the ocean. But there were many Americans, and of course many people coming to Bright Moments, which did an amazing job. And there were other events like the Metaversal one was also very interesting, and NFT Paris. The conference was, I think, I went there last year as well, and this year was more convenient, I guess. Like it was a little bit less crowded, or they actually organized it better, right? So it didn't feel that busy. So that was great. Um, Alex, you mentioned Jacopo and the Base Cafe, and I'm curious about that because I read something about it, like you could purchase coffee with Base. Is that the case? How does it work?
Yeah, they provided you could do through both options, like either the traditional way, but also we are going to be talking to Jacopo separately later more about this teaser. But he has built a platform that allows these on-chain purchases in real life. And so there was a stand where you could set up a Coinbase wallet and they would gift you, like, to claim a stable currency around $5-6 that you could go across the room and use, like, tap as a normal Apple Pay tap to buy one of the coffees. And we had conversations about, like, crypto credit cards. I think, like, even 2 years ago, crypto.com was doing something, but it never really, like, picked up as much. And I think seeing PayPal integration, seeing ETF approvals, seeing more institutions sort of recognize that this is something that people can actually use with all the warnings relatively, like, safely. I think this is a very interesting way forward where it is going to be more quote unquote legitimate that you can use the money you have to be able to make in real life purchases. And very similar things were used when Coinbase was doing their merge. You were able to do that. And I look forward to seeing more of that because it just takes down another barrier. You know how people always laugh, like, magic internet money, and now all of a sudden it's real. I live in London, and in the UK, I am actually wearing them now. I saw once we have this website called Farfetch, which is an aggregator of different stores, and they do, like, a curation of fashion brands, like from sportswear to high-end fashion. And there was a pair of Adidas and Stella McCartney trousers that looked exactly like Fidenza pattern, and I'm like, I need to have them. They were on sale. And when I was going through the checkout, I was able to pay with crypto. But the way they sort of did it is they showed me a wallet address where I had to send the money, and then they would, like, process it and approve. But this was I think my first time I was like, whoa, this is happening and such a big retailer is using it. And so I think that projects that are looking into this direction are going to have a lot of growth as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have like a credit card, a debit or credit card that I can use to use it and pick crypto in my wallet, right? Like use ETH on Base or ETH on Ethereum or whatever, Solana, Sols. But I wonder, I mean, just wondering how can you, because the shops need to have your information, right, for tax purposes, this kind of, for the receipt, right? So I wonder how that works. So yeah, interesting. I mean, the use case will be fantastic, but I guess you can do it through Coinbase, and then you are KYC there. They have your data, maybe that's how it works. But yeah, very very excited to see all these use cases and all these developers. And I think coming back to Farcaster, what makes it special is that we see founders, developers, and then we can call like creators in general, like Kugusha, for example, but also artists, and other sort of creators. So that
builders.
Builders. We're all builders.
Yeah,
Sitting
we're
in
all
the basement.
builders. Yeah, and I guess we already see people that are consumers, right? That maybe aren't building; they are just enjoying what's happening, right? And I see more of that, and that's, I
Yeah.
think when we see more consumers, and let's say 10-20% of the total are builders, that's great, right? That means we have very healthy ecosystem, right? But yeah, very very excited to see all those interactions.
No, definitely. I think one of the like big differences between Twitter and Farcaster is this like builder's energy. And I guess shout out to Base for really promoting this narrative. But in reality, people are willing to create changes. People are willing to contribute in like any ways. People are building their, I don't know, frames, their apps, but people are also building communities. People are also building experiences. And there is very, very healthy and positive like exchange on the platform, and founders get a really good feedback from consumers, but in reality it's just their supporters. People really want you to win there and willing to help. I've never seen it before. It's kind of like very early days of like Ethereum community, but I was not present there enough to judge, so I'm kind of experiencing it for the first time, and very lucky to be at that time on this platform.
Mhm.
So, Aleksandra, maybe you can tell because you joined recently. Like, how do you feel about that?
I completely agree. I think when I was listening to you, I was thinking about the book I'm reading by Chris Dixon, Read, Write, Own. And
I
I
have
sure,
just
sure books.
yeah.
Yeah. I also have it. And that was like the first book I saw when I joined. And it was about Web 1, where like the core principles of the internet, where everything was open. Like the internet was built to be decentralized. And then what we saw with Web 2 is this monopolization of certain services that became gated around closed systems. And we saw that in gaming, where if you have any in-game assets, you can't really like go on another marketplace and sell them. And same thing with having ownership of your content. And I think with Farcaster, the sort of like the ethos and the idea is that you do have that ownership. And I think that's where that's why like for many of us things feel different. And like links are not sort of like banned from engagement like they are on like Twitter and other platforms. Like it's about go and play, and it becomes a sandbox where many developers test their ideas. So because of the frames, which I think were released like just as I joined, you're able now to release a very early iteration of an idea and quickly get a lot of people to test it out. So this is one amazing flywheel for people to keep iterating. Another is, as someone, I don't have coding skills. You don't have coding skills. Maybe Callo has a little bit of coding skills, but as a tiny bit. But as someone who has no coding skills, we're being given more and more of these like frame links that you can alter yourself. Like someone shared, for example, a frame for a poll. So you can basically create like a quick voting thing. And then I was able to go and edit the questions and do my own. And I think that's exciting. And then we see integration from someone like Zora, offering artists to quickly create in-app minting experiences. We're seeing platforms like FX Hash jumping into also offering like minting on Base, having previews of the collection. And even those that have not done this, like Warpcast itself already shows different platform links and you can browse through collections. So everyone becomes an independent agent. And I think that's where you don't have to invest a ton of money into hiring a group of developers and making your product better. You're providing an incentive for people to be rewarded for helping you grow the product. So my hope is we won't see this centralization that we saw before, like when these things were happening, and that they continue to. I think Vitalik recently asked, like, how do you prevent this from, or someone big on Farcaster recently asked, like, how would you prevent this from becoming centralized? Like, what can you put in place? And there was a very interesting conversation, I think, between Dan and the other person about some of the things they can put in place to maintain that freedom of agents.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic, because if we look back to Twitter and Facebook, they were kind of open early on. You remember these games on Facebook? I remember playing these games like Farmville and all these. I remember my mom was playing a bunch of games, and it was kind of open. You could build games on Facebook easily, and also Twitter had the API open. There were many clients until eventually they figure out like Twitter and Facebook are more valuable if they can sell more ads, and if people stay in the platform, then they can sell more ads, or have more options to show ads to people. So they start to close down all those third parties. They want the people to stay in their platforms. And what's interesting about Farcaster is that it was designed as a protocol from early on. So there are ways how the protocol can, earn revenue. And I'm not an expert on this and how it works exactly, but the protocol is making money. Then there is Warpcast, right, which is a client, and anybody can build their own client. But of course, Warpcast is, I don't know exact numbers, but it's probably what everybody's using. Probably 80% of the people that are other clients. But yeah, the question is how to keep Warpcast decentralized. I mean, everybody can build a client, but how does it get traction, right? And so this is interesting. This is an interesting topic, and we'll see how it develops. And yeah, I'll look at that conversation with Dan. Alex sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'll send it over. I'm just wary of time. We're approaching our final sort of like minutes, and maybe both me and Callo ask you some final questions. This is something I didn't get a chance to, like, I don't think we're gonna dive super high, but about non-technical ability. So you mentioned you worked for a very long time within sort of like the startup environment building, but you're not a developer. And I always get asked by people when I tell them what I do, they're like, oh, you're an engineer. So how was your experience? Like, do you feel like you picked up a lot of product? Do you think anyone can do it? Like, what would you give as an advice to people listening?
Look, I think I'm not exactly the right person to ask this question, because I did computer science in university. So I have like 4 years of intense coding. But frankly speaking, after I graduated, there were a few times I really used it. But I don't know, when I joined the Warpcast, I really fell for the energy, for the people who were there, and whoever is joining the platform now. And I assume there would be like people interested in art listening to us right now. Just go interact with people, check different channels, see if you fell for like broader or more like niche channels, if there are creators that you would like to interact with, and then explore the possibilities, the integration that are already in place. For example, you've already mentioned that there is like Highlight, Zora, FX Hash, but then, for example, you can also display your collections through a frame through Gallery. But then there are now starting to be tools to build like no code frames, which, for example, like I know that Naynar has the frame studio, and basically you upload pictures there. It's very easy for a non-technical person to do so. So my advice, don't let it stop you. Go and explore. That's the way.
Yeah, and frames are getting more powerful, so they will allow for transactions. So not just with warps. So I could see soon many big drops happening on Farcaster. That I think it's already the place to be for if you are in Web3 in general, right? So many people are looking for alpha, or getting the next big drop, or now even with the meme coins. And I think over the past 3 months, I've been just by being around, I've seen so many good stuff there, and I think it will get even better with these new features, right? Like transactions, and even there are general channels that are very useful. There are like, I don't know, if you are into investment in a more formal level, there is a channel I recommend, Skin in the Game. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And there is anything from health to food to travel. So very, very exciting ecosystem for artists, for any kind of builders. And general curious-minded people.
Yeah, I think the goal is you come, you learn, and the key to success, you show up authentically and like stay open-minded.
Mhm. And there is a jobs channel, by the way. Also, it's another one I just remember. So there are many jobs postings there. So very exciting from Web3 companies. That's another one I really enjoy.
I enjoyed the Do Nothing channel. It really motivates you to take a break.
Yeah.
I like Reply Guys. Apart from art and collector's walls, Reply Guys is a good one.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a meme channel making fun of the people within our system. So much, Aleksandra. It was so great to have you, and being your first official guest.
Yes.
I'm happy that we got a chance to connect thanks to everything that all of us are doing.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and good luck with the new podcast. I'm rooting for you, always by your side. And yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, Kugusha. Pleasure talking to you, and let's stay in touch.
Bye bye.